So I believed him, and that's my child.
She said, here's $100. We shook hands. She said, just get an estimate, and I will take care of the damages.
It was very, very expensive, so being that it was a little stretch, I didn't think that it would be that much.
You can't just buff that out or whatever. It has to be done. The whole door has to be done.
We do live in the same neighborhood. I don't want any problems. I want our kids to still be able to play together if need be. Unfortunately, that happened.
I love the kids around there. I play with all of them, talk to all of them, so it's no problem, you know. I just wanted my car fixed.
Just an accident.
Keep an eye on your kids.
Keeper Action News.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Keeper is continuing to count the bills in the months since Antonio Zambrano Montes was shot by police.
Yeah, the largest demonstration following his death was on the first weekend after the shooting, and now we've learned that protecting public safety ran into 6 figures.
Austin Stanley has tonight's big story.
Not cheap to keep a crowd under control, let alone an organized rally for a very volatile issue like the shooting death of Antonio Zambrano Montes just days earlier. The bill, $135,236. Pasco isn't expected to get the bills for the other towns, but would be expected to help if asked on a reciprocal nature. While Pasco won't foot the entire $135,000, the demonstrators cost the city tens of thousands.
We had 30 assigned, 30 personnel, 30 officers assigned to that detail, and about another dozen support staff.
Staff that accounted for over half of Pasco's police force. The Valentine's Day event began peacefully, but the overtime hours started racking up when the demonstrations lasted longer than expected. A few protesters decided to shut down 10th and Lewis. Those people had to be protected while they exercised their First Amendment rights.
We didn't have barricades. The cars were coming and going. That's a very busy intersection, and somebody was going to get hurt.
Pasco hasn't yet figured out how this will affect the budget. It could end up costing other programs in the city.
We'll have to talk to the city manager, see if he's going to take the additional money out of a general fund, or maybe we'll end up having money through the year that we can cut enough to save.
Despite the high cost, no arrests were made that day, which made it a success to the city. In Pasco, Austin Stanley, Action News.
Now, it is common for police agencies to pay out of pocket for staff to work in other jurisdictions. Captain Roski says that they do it because they never know when they'll need outside help next.
Well, new charges have been filed against a woman associated with an outbreak of gang shootings around Thanksgiving and early December. Mary Fawcett's husband already faces murder for the death of Fernando Lopez outside a Road 68 apartment complex. And now Fawcett herself is facing a conspiracy to commit murder charge. That is a felony. Prosecutors offered Fawcett a plea deal on the condition she tell the truth, but a judge ruled that didn't happen, and new charges were added to what she was already facing. She made bail, and she is out of jail. And a Walla Walla man was formally charged with kidnapping his wife last week outside the Kennewick Winco. Paul Gross is facing a number of felonies. He was arrested the day after his wife disappeared. She was found safe, and the couple have a couple of children.
Well, it's now been more than 2 weeks since a fatal hit and run in Kennewick, and police are not any closer to finding a suspect. They want to talk to the driver of this truck caught on grainy surveillance video. Well, 2 trucks seized turned out not to be the right one. The driver may be responsible for hitting a man crossing the street on Columbia Center Boulevard last month. The pedestrian died and the driver never stopped. And proof your tips do matter. Pasco police arrested 3 suspected burglars yesterday thanks to your tips, and they were from watchful neighbors. Officers arrested 2 17-year-old boys and their 18-year-old friend. Police say the trio are responsible for 2 burglaries on Jefferson Drive and Paddington Lane.
Well, the clouds have begun to roll in on our second day of 70-degree weather.
Mike McCabe is in the Weather Center right now tracking a new system working its way into the Tri-Cities. And Mike, what can we expect tonight?
Well, clouds already moving in, as Terry mentioned. Yes, that's the first thing. Number 2, we might see some rain move in as early as the overnight hours, but a better chance moving in tomorrow afternoon ahead of a front that is going to change up the weather pattern a little bit. Check out that temperature outside right now. We're at 71 degrees at the airport in Pasco. Winds out of the west-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Overnight, we could see a chance for a spotty shower, but I'm looking sometime after 11 a.m. tomorrow for our best chance for some showers moving in as this front pushes through. It's going to be another mild day, although I think we're going to stay away from the 70-degree mark. That lends us to the rest of the week and even into your weekend. How are things looking? Are we going to continue with this mild weather? Well, I'll have the answer for you coming up in your full storm tracker forecast in just a few moments. Terry and Annie, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, a Richland man is now speaking out about his experience as a transgender teen and his time spent at Chiawana High School.
Devin Lamb says that he was bullied in school. Fellow students weren't always the problem either.
Yeah, Devin told Christy Paulus it was often the adults at school who made life the hardest.
Devin Lamb is like many other 18-year-olds. He works a full-time job, has a fiance, and is having dinner at Mom's house. But life for Devin has not always been easy.
When I first was able to say the word no, that was when I quit wearing girls' clothes.
From his first memory, Devin, born Davina, rejected the idea of being a girl. Mom, Nikki, did her best to accommodate her child.
This is probably like as little as he was when he'd let me put him in dresses, and then that was it.
Fast forward to sophomore year at Chiawana High School. Davina now went by Devin and told his family he was transgender and wanted to live life permanently as a male. There was some bullying by students, but Devin says teachers caused some of the biggest issues. Devin told me many refused to call him by his preferred name, which alerted other students to the fact he was born female.
That was very important to Devin, that he, be referred to as a male and, used male words and male things, and so there was some that would just absolutely refuse to do that.
The Pasco School District wouldn't speak directly about Devin's experience at Chiawana High School, but says it follows state law which protects LBGT students from any kind of bullying. It also requires accommodations be made for bathrooms and changing rooms. Pasco says it's willing to meet with students and their families to find out what they would be most comfortable with.
That's going to be a process that the principal would work through with the student and with the family to find solutions that are going to be the best solutions for that individual student.
Devin says he avoided using the bathroom at school altogether.
I'd go in the girls' restroom and get kicked out because you see a guy, and then I'd be so terrified to go into the guy's bathroom.
Devin says the school eventually accommodated him after his mom made dozens of visits to Chiawana and after he legally changed his name. Again, Pasco wouldn't comment directly on Devin's story, but he hopes by talking about his experiences, it will pave the way for other transgender kids in the Tri-Cities.
I just want to make a difference so that they know that they're not alone and that that the school actually has to do something about it.
In Pasco, Christy Paulus, Action News.
Now, we contacted the Kennewick and Richland school districts as well. Kennewick says it has provided private gender-neutral bathrooms and changing areas for PE to transgender students. Richland says it is prepared to make the same accommodations.
Well, Kaiby School District is the subject of a formal complaint for the way its potential weapons policy has been implemented. Now, we learned last week that the district had already paid and trained staff to be armed before the policy was even approved. The school district says it voted to pay for the training at an earlier meeting. A final vote on the policy itself is outstanding. While most parents at the public hearing last week were in support of arming some administrators. And we also learned students are being moved out of the remaining portables on the Kaiby middle and high school campuses. Poor air quality is to blame. Other portables were torn down because of black mold. A levy to replace portables failed last month. Students are being moved into already overcrowded classrooms in the school's main buildings.
Well, Washington State University